I'm recording. I don't know why I'm not saying anything.
You start these episodes.
I know. All right.
I'm halfway down in the bottom of a bottle, and I ain't gonna change my ways. But I ain't half bad when I do what I ought. It don't happen much these days.
Hey guys, this is Chris Hill.
This is DJ Loop.
And we're here for another episode of our Humble Beer podcast. We are once again back at the Casa de Hill.
The Humble Studios.
The HumblePod Studios, actually.
HumblePod
legitimately
Studios.
Coming from HumblePod.
Every time I come over here, it gets more technically like sound or whatever, technically advanced.
I know.
It's like the Borg are taking over here, the HumblePod Studios.
I mean, I'm using some pretty fancy equipment here. I'm not going to lie.
It's pretty awesome. It's like the days of like you forgot forgetting to hit a button to losing entire episodes are over.
Who's to say I'm recording right now?
I hope so.
I'm recording. I promise.
I can see lights flashing, so I only assume.
Yeah, lights are flashing. There's that bar is running, and you can see the waveform being made. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, man. So dude, I feel like we were talking right before we got recording. It feels like it's been forever. I mean, it's really not, but
it does feel like it's been forever. And I think
was March the last time we actually recorded something together, I think.
Yeah, I think so. With
right? Winter warm up.
Yeah.
Towards the end of March. Mm-hmm. And then April came around, May came around. Sorry, listeners, if you've been anticipating a new episode, we've been a little behind. Life, being adults and dads and stuff.
Adults and dads, it's the truth.
Starting a podcast company.
Yeah. Woo.
Yeah.
We have our very first major sponsor of the podcast, like legitimate major sponsor.
Who?
HumblePod.
That's right, we do. Yeah, first paying sponsor for the podcast. They're paying for us to be able to record this. They're paying for the podcast hosting. They're paying for everything. It's amazing.
HumblePod, yeah.
HumblePod is, yeah.
So if you need a podcast,
go to HumblePod.
Go to HumblePod.
Yes, we can help out. That's a shameless plug. But anyways, just wanted to catch up. DJ, I mean, you've been all over the place.
Yeah, I've been to Atlanta a couple times, checking out breweries. Brewfest prep is in full swing.
You got a pretty good haul back from your last Atlanta trip, didn't you?
Yeah.
What'd you bring back, by the way?
I went to Hop City. I said that like one word.
Hop City.
Hop City.
Hop City.
Hop City.
Hop City in blue.
Yeah. It's Hop City. It's a craft beer store down in Atlanta. There's like several of them, and one has.
Oh, sorry. I think that's going to be the title of the episode. By the way, Hop City.
Hop City, yeah. So I went a little crazy, and bought a 100 plus more. I don't know. I don't want to remember how much I spent at the Hop City.
I think you estimated somewhere around 150 when you were telling me.
Yeah.
Or maybe you were just bragging.
Yeah, probably. No, but I ran in the store and bought a bunch of back stuff back, and then of course the employee was a super beer nerd, and we nerded out, and he was telling me about all this stuff, and I got
really an employee at a place called Hop City was a beer nerd.
Yeah, so
that's awesome.
But he was like a beer nerd that's like he was actually he really liked. You could tell he was happy to be there.
Right. I get you.
Yeah, you could tell he was like enjoying what he was doing. He was like nerding out on the beer with me, and I think I have this. I don't even know remember what brewing company it was, but I have like this $20 barrel aged stout in a bottle that it just sounded amazing at the time, and I put it on the counter and bought it. But I don't actually have that with me today. I should have brought it, but
son of a gun, you should have brought it, man.
Later episode,
should have brought it.
I got some Reformation Brewing Company. They're becoming one of my favorite brewing companies, not only because of their the flavor of their beer, but just the kind of their mission of their company.
Right.
And and I got all kinds of stuff down there. I had to actually look and see what everything I bought. Well, as we're drinking it to the episode, we'll go through it. But I got to visit Red Hare.
Yeah.
One of my trips. And that was the first time I've actually been to Red Hare. I've drank a lot of their beer, and they're 50-50, the Radler, and their the lawn mowing beers. They have the I think it's like a lawn. I can't remember exactly what it's called. But got to check that vibe. It's kind of in an industrial area. It's 5 minutes away from Atlanta Braves Stadium. A lot of people. I was talking to one of the bartenders there. A lot of people will come there and park in one of the industrial areas, and they'll Uber over to the game. That way, they don't have to pay the high pricing for the parking or the deal with the traffic in and out of the stadium with their car. They can have a few beers, Uber to the game, Uber back.
That's a great idea.
And so that was pretty cool.
So that's what we're doing next time we go to Atlanta together.
We're spurging it I did the chop house seats.
Oh,
where you had your own little bar stools and seat. You were in right field, and there's like 4 or 5, more than that, probably like 5-6 rows or more, and you're like sitting at a bar in the stands or at right field. Perfect view of the stadium. You got your own server. You got electronic cooler koozie that you sit your beer in to keep your beer cold.
Oh my gosh!
And you can it's like, and I mean, it's at a stadium, so I got stadium prices. But it's like $8 for like a Terrapin Hopsecutioner in a 16-ounce can. So I mean,
that's pretty awesome.
I mean, what you do is you splurge, you get the seat, and then you're going to spend $100 in beer and food while you have the server.
Yeah,
you're going to spend $80 in food and $20 on a tip. But you know what? It's worth it, because the only thing you have to get up to do for the baseball game is go to the bathroom. It's the only thing you got to do.
That's pretty impressive.
And there's a bathroom within 20 feet of you, behind you in the little restaurant right there. So it's like one of the best Braves experiences I had in those seats.
I have only ever sat in the nosebleed section watching a Braves game, and that was in like '98, right after the Olympics, and my family had gone down to like visit Olympic Park and do all that, and then we went in and had some fun. But that was my last experience out there.
Yeah, I was super disappointed that I didn't get to do the new Reformation Brewing. I think they want the new location. One in Woodstock, and I think this one's closer to Atlanta. But Canton, I think, I don't know. I think that's the name of the little town they're in, or street or whatever. But it's a new location, and I think it has a full service restaurant, I believe.
Nice.
Could be mistaken, but I remember thinking of reading food. But the guy who runs it, his name is Spencer Nix. I follow him on the social medias and talked to him before on the socials, but never met him in person. I met his wife at a UT football tailgate when UT was playing Georgia Tech. And she's a Georgia Tech alum. And I saw the Reformation Brewing tent outside on somebody's car. I'm like, oh, I love Reformation Brewing. I'm down here by their beer. I've been to the location of Woodstock. I've talked to Spencer on Twitter and Facebook, and she's like, oh, that's my husband. And so and she gave me some free beer. That was like a year ago, but we need to do a trip down there for game.
We do. I don't think I've told you this yet, but one of my cousins is somehow related. Like, I don't know if it's like, I guess cousin removed. Like, it's a guy who married my cousin. He's like either related or really close to the founders of Reformation. Like, he's got a really close connection, and we just need to pull in a favor, and I think we can.
That would be awesome.
Have him do it with us.
They're like they're just like Black Abbey. Once I kind of made that, I really like their beer.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I really liked their beer before I had the kind of like connection, like their mission connection of the brewery.
Yeah.
Then when I had then it's like their beer just automatically. I don't know how if you feel this way, but the beer almost seems like it tastes better now because
I have more respect for it now that we've talked to Carl, learned his heart and passion for the beer and all that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like your passion, and you made that connection and kind of had that nerd out session with somebody.
Oh yeah,
and So you're you just enjoy it much more. But then same way with him, because like he posted a blog post called Grace North Georgia and Craft Beer. And it was just all like how God gave him the grace and the opportunity to build the brewery, and the North Georgian community, how it's kind of developed who he was, and surrounded him and made the brewery successful, and so successful he could open up another brewery. So it was a real cool blog post, and it was just like, that's the reason why I love craft beer, is because it's the community. One of the reasons I love craft beer is the community aspect of it, and the art and the art aspect of it. So that was really super cool. But but other than that, I didn't know I was a brewer, but my preacher told me that I was a brewer. I got a text message, and somebody was texting in church, and shot me a text message and told me asked me if I was a brewer.
Yeah, that was me.
Oh, really?
Did you? I mean, did you think it was somebody else? Because I was. Oh, okay.
No, I knew who it was, but that was pretty funny. So
yeah, I was like, did somebody else text you? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. They're like, man, DJ, you changed careers. I mean, you've got no offense, the brewer build. Like you've got the bushy beard, the very I drink beer build. Of course, I do too now. So like we're not very far off in terms of style now, but that's great. That was really fun going to your church and get to see Ava get baptized and all that.
That was fun.
Ava David, yeah.
So,
got your career wrong, got your baby's name wrong.
But I think
Are you sure you want to be a member of this church, DJ?
I think he was being slightly our pastor is a bit of a character, so he I'll say character, but he's good for a joke, and I think he was being a bit facetious. He knows where I work, so yeah. But that was super fun. Then, like I said, Brewfest prep is in full swing. We're having another meeting on Sunday, and just preparing for the masses coming to sample craft beer, and I'm kind of excited and nervous, because usually when I help do the setup and stuff, I have my safety net, that is Shane McMahon. Yeah. But him and Marsha, the people that have run the show, are not there this year. So it's going to be like, so a bunch of like, I'll be the old hat there, and
that's a big deal. But you're leading the volunteers this year, right?
Rachel's the volunteer coordinator.
Okay, so you're the support.
Yeah, so
They didn't trust you to lead all the volunteers?
Well, I mean, I've never done that before.
Okay.
So she's the one who's actually the volunteer coordinator. Like, she tells people where to go. Like, I've always just been the logistics guy. I just help do like set up and tell people, okay, this table needs to be here and that table needs to be there. Right. And I've worked with Shane on doing that. So I'll still be doing that. But this time I won't have Shane. What did we do last year? Or do you remember how this goes?
It's all on you. That is definitely scary.
So it's gonna be interesting to see how well it plays out. I hope we'll have a good group of people and we'll remember how to do everything. So yeah, I don't have any hopes or any worries that it's not going to go off. It's not going to go off. It's going to go off without a problem.
I know it is, and I'm very sad this year, because this is the first time in like 5 years that I've missed it. And we're going to Iowa to be with Bahar's grandparents, Aiden's great grandparents. His probably one of the few times. I mean, I hope not, but probably one of the few times he'll get to see them. So we gotta be an adult and go out there and
all this adulting stuff we have to do.
I know, man. Like it's just hard to work in a podcast amidst all the adulting, but we're still doing it.
We're still doing it.
Just make our wives do all the work with the children. So I'm kidding, kind of.
Are you really?
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, but
you're a good dad. I think we both help out.
I try.
Yeah.
Hashtag I try.
Hashtag I try.
No, but yeah, life has been good, and hopefully you'll be hearing. Everybody will be hearing a lot more from us. I think
Yeah.
This summer we're gonna really kick it off, and
Well, I mean, I can't really get out of the house very much. And so I'm glad I have this nice podcast set up. So you being able to come over and bring beer is going to be really nice because for those listeners who probably don't know, which is probably most everybody listening, I I dislocated my knee on a recent trip to Colorado.
how did you dislocate that knee in Colorado?
Well, there's a lot of things that are legal there that aren't here.
That was my train of thought.
I'm actually kidding about that, but no, I went to this trip in Colorado. It was really awesome. We kicked off the trip by going to Upslope Brewing. Literally, we got off the plane, got my rental car. I met up with the other guys that were going on the trip with me, and then we went straight to Upslope.
Now, question for you.
Like
when I went to Denver a couple years ago,
Uh-huh.
I did basically the same thing, but I got off the plane and drove I was 45 minutes, an hour, I think.
Uh-huh.
I drove straight to Fort Collins and then went to a sour brewing company. Then we went to the tour of New Belgium. And after having several beers plus the altitude, man, it's like that altitude and the beer combined was boom, hit me really super hard. I had to go back to our Airbnb and rest for an hour before I could do anything else.
Was it the altitude or the altitude in air quotes?
No, it was the altitude because the altitude makes you dizzy and and very weak.
It can, yeah.
So I was dizzy and weak, plus with the somewhat effects of alcohol. I mean,
it all combined and created some.
And so did you have any kind of feeling like that?
I think I'm gonna blame some of it on the altitude.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a part of it, but I'm gonna blame it on it.
There you go.
But yeah, no, I mean before I get into that, I mean Upslope was really cool. It was neat to be able to go, to where Alex Violette really got kind of his really, really big start in what eventually propelled him to doing Pasteur Street and ultimately brought him back to Knoxville, even if it was just for a little while. I know they're back in Vietnam at least for a little while. But it was cool getting to see that. I got a nice hat, which you're thrilled that I'm not wearing my Mountain Dew hat anymore.
Yes.
So I do have that, and I'm pretty thrilled with it. And then beyond that, we went into Estes Park. I was there for a retreat. So, we spent most of the time out in Estes Park, and that area was just beautiful. And then, so just to set the scene, the day we left, we got out a little early from the retreat, and we decided we were going to take our time coming back just to have a scenic, just beautiful trip, take the scenic overlook back out of Estes Park into Denver and stop through Boulder again, get more beer, do all that. And so on our way back up Estes Park, up this really scenic passageway, we decided to pull over to the side of the road because we had this really nice overlook that we wanted to go, walk up and see. And so we start walking, we go up to this little rock face and climb up there, and sure enough, you've got this beautiful view of Estes Park, and there's actually a rainstorm coming in. So it's just this really cool backdrop to what's going on. So I take the picture, I get my camera out, I scramble up this rock, I take the picture. My buddies that were with me were up an extra level from where I was, up on the rock an extra level. And I was like, I probably shouldn't go up there. I should probably just be fine with being an adult and being right here, being happy. And then the other part of my brain said, nah, you can make it up there. It's easy. You should go. And so I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll just walk. And so, it wasn't too steep, but there was, there was a bit of an incline kind of climbing up there, and there were some what I'll call bushes, brambles kind of in my way. And so I had to kind of step over those. So I was stepping awkwardly to step over these bushes, and I pull forward with my right foot, and I think I stretched out a little too far, and I pulled myself forward. And as I pulled myself forward, there was just this pop and another pop. And I blacked out very briefly, and and then I fell to the ground. And thankfully, I was carrying my camera, so thankfully, when I landed, my camera didn't break or anything.
That's what I was going to ask. Is the camera okay?
The camera is perfectly fine because I landed my brain just instinctually took the fall to where I held my camera up in the air the entire time, and it was okay. Yeah, that's the kind of person I am.
That's a media guy falling for you.
Yeah, that's right.
Guy who does media.
So I felt camera's fine. And yeah, I survived that, but then I tried to stand up and I couldn't stand up. Like I couldn't put any weight on my right leg. And I was like, I have done something really bad to myself. After I fell, my buddies were very kind. They picked me up and they helped me get down the trail, get back to the car. They drove, obviously, because it was my right leg. I couldn't drive to save my life, and I was hurting too much. I needed my leg propped up. Drove me to an ER back around Boulder, and they got really lucky. Like there was zero wait at this ER. We just came in. I got inspected. They gave me a brace. They gave me some pain medication, and then they wrote me a note to
pain medication.
Yeah, like some. I think it was. Yeah, not marijuana. If that's what you're thinking, no, they did not write me a prescription for marijuana.
I was like, is this just an elaborate scheme to get a prescription in Colorado?
I thought about it, and then I was like, you don't need a prescription in Colorado. It's recreational there. You can just go buy it.
I didn't think about that.
So I didn't even ask, but I was just like, man, if I wasn't leaving today, like I've got the perfect excuse right now to actually try this. And it's my leg.
That HTC beer.
Yeah, the THC.
THC.
Yeah. HTC is the phone.
That's phone. I know. Sorry.
The phone beer. I'm sure there is
the
one.
Phone. Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah.
The phone beer. The THC. Same letters. Lisdexic.
Yeah. But anyways, so yes, I went and got all that taken care of. But they wrote me a note to like the airport, so that I got to get in a let's see, what was it, like a wheelchair? Like the guys took me in a wheelchair and they wheeled me through the airport. So you've been to Denver's airport, so you know how much walking you have to do through those terminals. So at first I was like, I could probably do this with my crutches and stuff. And we get to the airport and I'm like, no, I'm going to take full advantage of this. So they wheeled me through the entire airport. And I was really worried too, because I was flying United. I was really worried I'd get to the gate and they'd be like, well, sorry, you just got to deal with it. You just got to have your leg out there and whatever. But they were really kind, and I mean, this had to be like, I don't know, God's provision, because the one seat that was available on that plane was the very front seat, and it was the only seat that would accommodate my leg. So, they moved me up to that seat and everything when I got to the gate, and they were completely awesome about it. And it's honestly the best experience I've ever had flying United. So, that's the moral of the story. The best way to fly United is to fly injured, not to get injured by United, which ironically is actually how I started the trip, or part of how I started the trip, because United on a prior flight earlier this year had rammed into my knee, actually the same knee that got injured. So maybe there's a correlation there. Maybe they hurt me so bad they gave me money to apologize and make sure I didn't say anything bad. And of course, I'm not saying anything bad, but I do find it suspicious that both times it was United, my knee is involved. There's a conspiracy here, DJ, if we go deep enough.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun, dun. But anyways, back to beer. So you were talking about the Braves Stadium having beer in those cool coolers. Do you think they'll have that with Neyland Stadium?
The electric, never know. Maybe one day.
Yeah.
Because if you're in Knoxville or in the SEC school, the SEC has basically deemed it okay or legal. Or I guess they had a ban on it. The SEC had a ban, but they have lifted the ban of selling alcohol in stadiums,
which is pretty exciting.
But as of today, Neyland Stadium is probably most likely, I would say, I would give it a good 75 to 80%. We'll be having beer in Neyland Stadium this coming up football season. In less than 90 days, I guess. Yeah,
I am sure they will be. They're already installing tap lines and tap handles.
The Neyland Stadium has the permit sign up on it. I think in front of Gate 21.
Well, there you go.
It says beer permit application pending
on Gate 21. That's an appropriate gate for it to be on.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
But so I threw a question out on Twitter because a lot of the local media was talking about it, like the news media and sports radio media was talking about it, and they were just talking about what do you think about selling beer in college football stadiums? But on a craft beer angle, I was like, how much would you pay for a craft beer while watching your favorite college football team?
Right.
And I know a lot of people go to pro games and buy craft beer,
Yeah.
but with pro games, I think tailgating isn't as much of a culture.
Right.
So, like programs, you just go kind of show up and you show up kind of like an hour before the game, park, go in, maybe have a beer outside or something. But with tailgate out pretty much all day, and you go around and visit people and drink whatever beer you want. But when you get in the stadium, you actually have options now, or you'll have an option to buy beer.
Right.
And so, how much would you pay for if you got a local craft beer in that stadium? And do you want local craft beer in the stadium? Does it matter to you?
I mean, for the first year, I'm going to say personally, I wouldn't be heartbroken if I showed up and it was just whatever Eagle Distributing provided, or I say Eagle, it could be Littman or whoever. Whoever the distributor ends up being that gets that deal, which is probably hot and heavy right now. I bet that's a big deal going down.
They're probably fighting in the parking lot right now.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You never know; they could each get their own booths.
Yeah, they could.
So,
depends on who's been the bigger donor to UT over the years.
True.
I'm sure.
Well, I think Peyton Manning has a tie with Eagle.
Oh, there you go.
So because he owns several distributorships in.
I see where this is going already.
In New Orleans, and he's part ownership in Eagle with Ray Hand.
That would make sense.
So I mean, it would be.
I mean, it's only appropriate.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So yeah. I mean, for me personally, I don't mind. I'm not going to be heartbroken if it's just that.
Mm-hmm.
I would hate it if it's just like Bud Light and Miller Lite and maybe Bud Heavy or something like that. That would break my heart. But I don't think it's going to come to that.
See, I think also the craft beer I think that has the best chance to be inside Neyland, I guess in here would be Calhoun's or Smoky Mountain Brewery, because Calhoun's already have restaurants inside the stadium.
Well, they do. Well, I bet they'll be able to sell their own beer there now.
Yeah, so I think so. That would be nice. But would you pay $14 for a Cherokee Red though, or $12, or just to be able to have that?
To say I've had it at UT, yeah. I totally would at least once.
At least once, I know, and that's what I think. That's
for my one beer during the game, I don't get up to buy when I go to a game. Like I buy my hot dog, I buy my Coke. Like I don't get up for a lot of refreshments and a lot of like stuff during the game. I'm typically glued to the game either because I've got really cheap seats and they're really far away. Or just because the game is good enough to where I don't feel like I need to get up. So I wouldn't be going back to buy a lot of beer. Are they allowed to sell liquor?
Wine, no liquor. No wine, no liquor just yet.
Well, I've smelled enough liquor in that stadium over the years to know it's not going to matter anyway.
It's interesting. I think it's going to change the culture of college football stadiums.
Yeah.
And I think with the college football stadiums kind of doing it now, where pros have done it since the beginning, pretty much.
Yeah.
But the pros have always sold the Bud Light and the Miller Lite, and they're just now getting into the craft beer game. Like you'll see like a Goose Island, I know it's owned by Budweiser now, but it's an option people have. And I think the Braves, we've been talking about the Braves.
Yeah.
Mill Coors owns either part or all of Terrapin now.
Right. I think they own all of it.
All of it. Yeah. But they have the Brave Stadium has a small batch Terrapin brewery inside the stadium,
which is pretty cool.
So you get the flavors and the craft aspect through there. So in a college environment, I think that would be kind of cool. In a lot of your college towns, you have a lot of wonderful little craft breweries in college towns.
Right.
And so I think those smaller craft breweries might have more of a chance to get inside of a college stadium than they would a pro stadium, which is more of a big corporate kind of market.
Right. My only concern for this is people like Budweiser, now I wonder if they'll be able to also advertise and sponsor in the stadiums as well. Do you know if that's part of the deal?
It would have to. You'd have to. I mean, if if they're selling it, you'll have to advertise it that
Yeah.
they'll have signage and stuff like that.
Did we talk about on this podcast? Did we talk about me going to the National Sports Forum in Las Vegas?
I think we may have mentioned it.
May have mentioned it vaguely, briefly.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't think we did because we were talking a lot about the beer festival when I got back from that.
Yeah.
But no, so I went to National Sports Forum in Las Vegas, and one of the presenting sponsors for that event was Budweiser. And one of the cool things about being there was, I was there to sponsor or to talk about a startup that I was working in prior to moving to HumblePod. And when we were there, I also got to sit in on on several sessions, and some of those were involving sponsorships with Budweiser. And they were talking about how they sponsor sports teams and the incentives that they provide to sports teams and how those incentives are provided. And, it's not really based on beer sale per se, but social media engagement's a big one that they really push to get people involved. And actually their incentives now are based on how much engagement they get on these social posts and things like that. So they're trying to get their sports teams, their pro sports teams, pro-am, whoever, like part of their big goal is to get them to get engaged and get their fan base engaged by using social media, basically. And by doing that, like if they reach so many social shares and things, like they unlock more sponsorship dollars for their school. So
free advertising,
free advertising, but Budweiser is basically paying them for the advertising.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because it's a shift. It's like they're kind of requiring original content to be created by the schools with their brand engaged. So I'm saying all that to say, like, I could easily see that working its way into the school system and making those brands more prevalent, even to the point of like what's served at a game versus, like a craft beer at a game, because that's where that's the part of the market they're trying to take over still.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, and like pushing people to like take a picture of themselves and hashtagging with the beer inside Neyland.
Yeah, or creating original content like videos and things like that. Like the Bud Night comes in, and like they've got it's actually a really great video. Props to you can hate on them for a lot of things. Their marketing is definitely not one of them. And the Bud Night with the Baltimore Ravens was amazing. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. He becomes a recruit for the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, that's funny.
And that's kind of the examples they're going for. So the schools like doing videos like that and things like that. So it's just like, is it going to be big beer focused once we really get into this, or are we going to see a craft focus? I think it's going to be hard from a commercial aspect, especially with the university, for them to go, oh, well, we really need to support our craft beer community.
And one of my friends on Twitter, Shane McMahon, he actually tweeted, he was talking about like he think with the beer taxes and stuff so high in Knoxville. That was a great response. With the beer taxes being so high, he thinks that the prices of so if you do get,
are you talking about this guy?
No, I'm talking about another one.
Sorry.
I was just talking about the price point, which was the original question we had.
Oh yeah,
but because I think the 57% of the vote or 54% of the vote said they would pay $7.
Yeah, which by the way, I was impressed. We got 48 responses to this. And we'll just, since you're bringing it up, sorry, we'll go through this real quick. 21% of you all said that you wouldn't pay more than $5 for a craft beer, which I love your optimism.
Yeah, I know, exactly. That'd be awesome. It'd be like the Atlanta Falcons stadium, the Mercedes-Benz stadium.
Yeah.
And Atlanta United, they do the fan-friendly pricing.
Yeah, which I think is great.
Which is great. So like I think the most expensive beer in that place is like $8, and it's like a 24-ounce premium craft brewery, or I think it might even be a 32-ounce.
Right. These students are spending tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to this university already, and you're going to charge them $15 for a beer.
Yeah, I hope
Seriously?
not. So, but
no. So 21% $5, 54% to your point $7, 15% $10, and then only 10% of you would pay $12.
The most I've ever paid for a beer inside of a stadium is $10.
Oh, really?
And I was racking my brain how much I've ever paid for a beer inside of a stadium. At the Braves game for that, the craft can. I think they had one of the craft cans of
whatever the beer is.
What was we just said
Hopsecutioner?
I think a Hopsecutioner. I think
Okay.
it was $8 or $9 maybe.
Yeah. But a lot of times they also give you like a full pint can. Too.
Yeah, it
They're
was
not
a big pint can.
they're
Yeah,
not just like a.
and so I
ounce.
was trying to think of, and then when I went to FedEx Field for a Manchester United soccer game, which is in DC, Guinness was $8 a can for a pint can of Guinness.
I've got you beat. I went to the Yankee Stadium,
Oh,
the
nice.
brand new one, like $15 for a can of Heineken.
Wow, see,
And that was the most craft they got.
wow.
Which sounds like the Yankees, doesn't it?
That does sound like the Yankees. No, but I just couldn't. I don't remember ever paying more than $10 for a beer in any stadium or sporting event.
Speaking of sporting events,
But oh yeah, that's my
I want to put that on silent.
whoops, my ESPN alert just came off.
It was hilarious, though.
I don't know.
Good time.
But it did, yeah, a very good timing. No, but yeah, so I was just interesting because with the beer sales in Neyland Stadium and it being something new in the college realm, I know a lot of people will probably come back and say, "Oh, pros are different a lot." But pros have done it for years, but I think there's just two different atmospheres when it comes to college and pro sports, and I think pro sports are very corporate, kind of sterilized environments where, I mean, it's fun to go to pro games. You get the luxury of programs, but when I can envision more people at a Neyland Stadium down in the old hall or down in the old parts of the stadium and in the bleachers and stuff with a pint of local beer more than I would in a corporate environment like Nissan Stadium where the Titans play or Hard Rock Stadium where the Dolphins play. It's like that's a place. It's almost like a Walmart of football.
Yeah.
So like, but the college stadiums are unique, and so I think it's a different vibe. So that's what I was kind of wondering: would people that go to college games prefer a craft beer? Could that be a focus in college stadiums since it's brand new?
We'll see.
And these are smaller markets that have most of them. I mean, I know you have Swamphead is a big one in Gainesville.
Mm-hmm.
Athens has multiple breweries, and that's where Terrapin started.
I'm never gonna be so excited to go to a Georgia game if they say that like Creature Comforts.
Yeah, yeah.
If they said Creature Comforts was in here, I would be like, oh my gosh.
Of course, in Nashville, if you go to a Vandy game, they have all the different breweries in Nashville, and so like all these different smaller markets that have these small breweries that are that could easily have more connections with the community and a sports team. I just was thinking, would you want that?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it would be great if the breweries can keep up with the capacity. Because Neyland, I mean, you're talking about supplying beer to, I mean, not 100,000 people, but probably good. You need enough beer to be able to support 5,000 to 10,000 people for a game.
Yeah,
I mean
that's what I was saying. Roughly, if it's on par with the market, it's like what 20-25% of beer drinkers in that stadium would want to drink craft,
right,
or premium beers,
right.
So
but you still got to have it at multiple stations too, because it's not just like one spot in Neyland Stadium is going to be available.
The favorite response was the
this is one I was laughing about. I thought you were referring to. So Guinness Forever 61 says, I'm trying to imagine spilling a $15 sour coffee bacon maple chocolate milk stout down the steps of Neyland. Nope. LOL.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny.
That was pretty good. I mean, that would be something that would be kind of cool to be able to in the stadium instead of outside the stadium. Like, I've tailgated for years, and I'll bring the craft beer cooler to the tailgate, and we'll try different beers. And almost I've had multiple tailgates that are almost like mini bottle shares. For the stadium, and you drink a beer like that. Yeah, it'd be kind of fun to do that in the stadium. I
think so.
And I would think, I would pay $12, and I think that's probably my limit. Yeah. I'm like, once you start having to hand over 20 and you don't get much back, and if you're sitting in the top of the stadium, you can see the brewery that you're buying.
Yeah,
that was.
I'll just go there after the game.
Yeah, I just go there after the game. But I think it's going to be I think it would be a unique opportunity for local craft breweries in these smaller markets that could easily it's just more easily accessible to connect with the college team to actually get your foot in the door with a college team.
Yeah,
because somebody from that college up high in that college probably goes to that local craft brewery,
right?
But then that college, that local craft brewery might not be able to get into like a corporate stadium because the corporate contracts with the NFL and the blah blah blah. That probably wouldn't have that if most of the breweries in town are distributed by Eagle and Cherokee, or Eagle or Cherokee. So if Eagle or Cherokee get maybe that local brewery can get in the door to be sold at Neyland, that would be cool.
I think it's cool, and I think it will happen. I think we'll see at least one local brewery included in that. Even if it's not this first year, it'll probably be like in the next couple of years. I could definitely see that, especially as our breweries grow. I mean, they are growing and not stopping, dude.
No, we are full force, man.
Oh my gosh, we have. I'm just looking at the list. Like breweries, you'll be able to walk in and visit probably in the next 2 to 3 months. I mean, we have three. No, we have 3 new actual breweries coming. Well, technically, I guess 2 new actual breweries coming, maybe 3, plus some other exciting things happening. So we've got Next Level, we've got Elst, we've got Albright Brewing, we've got Beard and Beer Market, which is apparently starting a brewery, which is the first I've heard of this.
That's the word on the street.
Word on the street.
Yeah, that's word on the street that they're looking to maybe put some tanks and they've already did a collaboration.
You heard it here first, kids.
Yeah. I don't know if they heard it here first. But.
Well, some will because it's the first time hearing it.
But I know Chris DP8 or what is it?
Pietro.
I can always mess up his last name.
Trio or something like that. Anyways,
But anyway, I know that he did
the manager over there.
He did a collaboration with Print Shop, which was cool. So it's out. I think it's been pouring at the beer market.
Right.
But so I think they're getting their foot in the door with the brewing game.
Nice.
So that's nice then. I mean, in my neck of the woods in South Knoxville, we're waiting the arrival of Highwire out of Asheville, North Carolina.
Wow.
They're opening a tap room in it. If I'm going, when I go down to Sevier is one of the ways I can go home, and I find myself going down that way more and more just to drive around the brewery or drive around the tap room to see how close and all the murals they're painting and the reconstruction of the brewery.
Cannot wait to see it.
Maybe I'll tell this story. I don't care.
Okay, we can always edit it out if it's inappropriate later.
No, it's not that inappropriate. There has been multiple times, speaking of our conversation with Neyland Stadium, there's been multiple times I've been tailgating or something. A lot of times I will like park at a Lions area. And then I'll like Uber to the game or Uber downtown. Yeah. Have a few beers in Lions and go downtown to like for a football or basketball game. Then a lot of times like the Uber is like $100 after a game. And it's only like a 30-minute walk from the Neyland Stadium or Thompson Mall Arena to Alliance. So I'll just walk back. The building that Highwire in was my go-to spot to hide in the crevices in the backside of the building to pee at.
Now you'll just be able to walk in and use an actual
exactly. It was like me walking. I'm 3/4 of the way there. I can't make it to the restroom. I can't make it to Alliance or to my car to get me home. So it was like, it was an old abandoned building. So I'll just go in this corner in the dark and pee on side of the building. I know it's wrong. I know everybody's judging me.
It's like that episode of Seinfeld where they're walking through they're endlessly walking through the parking garage and like, just pee, just duck behind a car and pee. It'll be fine. And the minute Georgia does, like police show up, sirens, they end up in jail. Like it's amazing.
But that's what funny, and
that's what would happen to me if I tried to do that. DJ.
So I've peed there. I've peed in that building multiple times. So, and I can't wait to share this with the owners when
I am sure they will be like, great.
There's the weird guy that this was his place. He peed.
I don't think you'll have to share it with them because we'll probably hear it on the podcast first. That is both amazing and hilarious.
Yeah, so I'm excited for the building.
Yeah, it's exciting.
So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
And
I was excited to just having a Asheville brewery that big and that confident in our beer scene to come and because we've looked at Asheville as this beer city for so long,
right,
and how and we're growing our scene, and they've had their scene established for several years now, but they feel confident enough in our scene.
Yeah,
the craft beer capital that is Asheville still feels confident to come over and open a tap room because our scene is up and coming, and I've heard some pushback saying, oh, we want our own, we want to create our own, we don't need Asheville. And no, come on, that's what I say.
Yeah,
and I'm like, come on, let's build together. If Asheville wants to, however wants to be a part of it,
yeah,
because it looks like, or of course they do, and they're just going to help grow it. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be, and I think that will be bring people from Asheville. Go, oh, we can go to Nashville. We can go to Knoxville. Highwire has a tap room there. Then within Highwire's tap room is walking distance. You have Alliance and Print Shop.
that's amazing.
So it's like easily do a South Knoxville pub crawl. I mean, South Knoxville pub crawl.
Speaking of, this isn't on our list, but Zach at Knox Brew Tours is going to be starting a walking tour soon.
Yeah, I mean that's perfect.
So, there you go.
You could easily walk from my house to Alliance, Print Shop, and Highwire, and back to my house in under an hour and a half.
Wow.
Like 2 hours if you have a pint at each place.
Yeah.
3 hours maybe. No. 5 hours. No.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's easily walking. Like I would say it's a 5-minute walk in between each of those breweries or less. I mean, between Alliance and Highwire is 2 minutes tops.
Yeah. Yeah. They're really close together.
Yeah. So it's going to be real fun. And then I think there's going to be a lot of community stuff and a lot. I mean, you could have your own South Knoxville beer fest just with those three guys. Three.
That's like evidence of the South Knoxville revitalization.
Yeah.
Like South Knox is finally seeing that spark of life that's been missing for so long. In fact, it's funny. Todd White, he actually just spoke at the American Marketing Association luncheon yesterday, and he was talking about the economic impact of brewing, and he was talking about South Knox and how Alliance really kickstarted the economic revitalization in that area.
Oh, no doubt.
And it's definitely cool to see it.
Well, if you look at any of that's been an old adage for a while. If you look at it in any area, I mean, Knoxville is an example, but you can pretty much pick any major city.
It's a key economic indicator of growth as a craft brewery.
Yeah.
So the more craft breweries you have, the more indication that your city's actually growing economically.
But but you can see a lot of these these areas that were not necessarily run down, but I guess a lot of them were run down. But but the growth of that area was started by a craft brewery.
Yeah,
that craft brewery took a chance and said, "Hey, there's this area has potential. We'll open a tap room here." Then that bred a coffee shop, that restaurant, so forth, so on. Next thing you know,
CrossFit Center.
Right.
Where there's a brewery, there's at least one coffee shop and a CrossFit nearby.
Exactly. We learned that in Nashville. That is very true, and
definitely true in Nashville. That's like a science out there.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and then we have Next Level. I already said Next Level. That's going to be interesting. It's right there on the corner of Broadway and Central.
Yeah. Once they get that Broadway revitalization done, well, I guess it's not Broadway. It's really the Central revitalization done. Once they get that done, it's going to be really nice.
I think that's going to be one of the more
because you'll be able to walk Crafty there, and then up to the food truck park and Schultzbrow, and all the way out to Hops and Hollers. And then if you really want to keep walking, you can go all the way out to Elst, and then even if you really have the energy after that, which you may after all that beer, you can go all the way out to Fanatic as well through there. So it's just crazy.
And I think Next Level, well, it's located right there on the corner of Broadway and Central.
Yeah.
I mean, other than, probably Downtown Grill and maybe Balther, it's going to be one of the most visible breweries just by traffic standards.
Right.
Like, people are going to see it because people travel Broadway so much and travel Central right there so much, and it's people go up north because there's because a lot of people go straight down Broadway because it goes right into Felton City, and then it goes into downtown and intersects with Central and going to Old City and back up north. And then you have the on-ramp right there on Baxter on Central. So a lot of people getting off the interstate right there. That's just going to be a brewery that a lot of eyes are going to hit when they go by. So I think that could be
traffic area.
Yeah, it's going to be very successful. I think one of the reasons how that can be very successful is just because it's going to be people are like so many craft breweries in the past, and when I visit them cities, they're kind of tucked away in industrial areas,
right?
Like
because you need that space for the brewing equipment and the zoning laws.
Like Red Hare in Atlanta, it's kind of back in a little warehouse park,
right?
So they're not that visible out, but Knoxville's going to have a lot of breweries that are very kind of visible inside the town square that are easier to get to than most cities.
Yeah, we're going to have a very walkable downtown. We already do have I think a pretty walkable downtown, but even more so now, we're definitely going to have a scooterable downtown.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, I'm heartbroken. Like, my knee injury happened at the worst time because like the scooters come in and it's like, oh, there's no way I can do that on my knee. Like, I would stop.
I'm afraid of the scooters.
Put my right leg out, and then I'd like die.
I'm afraid.
Yeah, I'm afraid of hitting people on them or bad things happening. But yeah, so we have all that coming. Albright, I don't know much about them. But it looks like a really cool place. Let's see here. Yeah, they look like they're going to focus on IPAs, even like bourbon and wine infusions and innovative creations inspired by travels abroad, which I'm really curious to see what that means. If they're just going to try a lot of international styles, or if they're actually going to pull from like, I don't know, an international craft beer that they've tried that they're like, oh, this is different. Because there are legitimate. We've talked about it on this podcast before. There are legitimately breweries that are like in Italy that are craft breweries that have not been around for hundreds of years, that have just started by local people that want to have craft breweries. So if they're taking from inspiration from that, I'm interested. If they're, I don't know, that could just be marketing speak for we're going to do it Kolsch.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious to see what they actually mean. Maybe they'll be Indian craft
and it's
beers.
kind of cool. And I know there's some other businesses that have been right there on Sutherland Avenue, but it's kind of the first big brewery. That's the first brewery that's going there on Sutherland. So it's going to kind of see the growth of that area too.
Yeah.
And it's kind of its own little community right there. So it's got the river sports and different things. So it's going to add a craft beer to that. So
yeah.
So it's going to be right there close. It's not that far from the beer market. So
yeah. And that'll be nice to have another brewery close by.
So like brew tours can do their beard and run could be abridged, Albright, and BBM.
Yeah.
So and
start with the A's. A's and the B's.
A's and the B's.
Would there be we don't have a C. We have Clinch River. You could do the ABC brewery.
There you go.
Brewery tour. And then, and so, we've got a lot going on. I guess kind of moving on to our last little thing. Do we want to take a pause and get a beer and come back?
Sure.
All right. We're going to take a little pause here, and we'll come back, and we'll be drinking some beer and talking about what DJ brought back for $1,000 from Atlanta.
All right.
And we are back with beer, fresh beer. Anyway, we had just downed some delicious Marble Brewing Company beer. Marble, you may be familiar with if you've known Knoxville beer long enough. They're most known for turning craft beer into sawdust. That's a bad joke.
It's a beautiful joke.
Yeah, but you've already heard the punchline, so you're like, oh, that's lame now. But no, Marble is known in Knoxville for suing Marble City Brewing and keeping them from using marble in their name.
And the rest is history.
And the rest is history.
No, I'm drinking Atlanta Brewing Company's their Hartsfield Indian Pale Ale, their IPA. It's pretty tasty. Just a good flavorful, not too terribly bitter.
Sounds really tasty.
Not too terribly bitter, citrusy. 6.2.
And I am drinking the Wooden Robot. It's a double dry hopped IPA with local barley and oat malt and mosaic hops.
So
it's from Charlotte, North Carolina. Yeah. So interesting beer.
So my wife
give it a shot here.
Absolutely loved it. I did not.
And why didn't you like it?
It was almost too flowery. Too floral for me. But I had just drank, I think, one of these fogs and maybe something else. Then I tried that. Or me and my wife split that, or we were going to split it.
Yeah.
And it was just, the floral was just too much for me. And maybe because I had back-to-back floral beers.
I think maybe I'm not really getting, I don't know, for me, my palate, I'm not really getting those floral notes. I'm really getting, like, it's got that local barley and oat malt. Like, I'm getting a lot of malty flavor in this. Mm-hmm. It's definitely different.
Yeah.
It's definitely different.
Like
I need to keep sipping on it to give you a better answer.
She said it reminded her part of my garden from Last Days of Autumn.
Which is just dank.
So, it was just...
Yeah, okay, I see what you're talking about.
I don't know, but like I said, I have another one at home, so I'm going to give another shot, but I didn't hate the beer, but it just wasn't my favorite, and I think the reason why it wasn't my favorite is because...
It's not blowing me away. It's not terrible, but it's not blowing me away.
Because it was what I was drinking or with it, but this Hartsfield is just a good sessionable, or not sessionable, but good drinkable IPA.
Yeah.
It's just something drink fresh, international exotic rotating hops. I wonder if that means they just kind of use different hops in this style.
Probably.
But Atlanta Brewing Company used to be Red Brick Brewing Company. I did Laughing Skull.
Oh, yeah.
So they rebranded.
I didn't realize they rebranded.
They rebranded as...
Do you know why they rebranded?
I think it was just kind of just to refresh the brewing company, and I think it may have been Atlanta Brewing Company original, and they went to Red Brick. Then I think they wanted to go back for the anniversary. I know it says since '93, so it was maybe an anniversary, but there was some reason or some milestone that because they rebranded. I probably should have Googled that, but I didn't. But
it's okay.
But whatever. But
they rebranded.
But yeah, so but that's some of the beer that I brought back. There's several more. I got another and for some odd reason I did a bunch of IPAs in cans, and then all my bombers that I bought in bottles were stouts. So it's like I went straight up like, oh, I'll buy this IPA. Like, I'm gonna buy 10 6-packs of IPAs in cans. Then I'm gonna buy like 5 bottles of stouts. And I don't know what possessed me.
You were just in a mood. Your shopping spree.
Yeah,
it was retail therapy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, but it was good.
Yeah, I mean it's good beer. I mean, it's not the worst. I need to keep drinking.
I did want to tell my quick story about.
Yeah. You go ahead. You said you had a story about Marble Brewing Company.
Well, so I have a friend who.
What's that friend's name? Because I'm sure he listens.
Jimmy. He lives in Albuquerque, and so I told him to bring me back a craft beer from Albuquerque, and so he brought this back from me. But he told me an interesting thing because apparently in Albuquerque they have very strict DUI laws.
Okay.
So when you go to Marble, if the beer is under 10%, I think under 10%, you're allowed to have 4 of them while you're there at the brewery. If it's over 10%, you're only allowed to have 3. Then they won't sell you any more beer at the brewery.
Like even if you're buying stuff to take home.
No, they'll let you buy a 6-pack to take home.
Okay.
But as in drinking there, and if it's under 10%, they will not serve you more than 4 beers.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I mean,
if it's 3 if it's over 10%.
I mean that makes sense. I mean, I'm not going to buy much when I go out. I'm not a lightweight by any means, but I know that like after about 4, I'm really feeling it. Mm-hmm. So generally, I'm not as close to downtown. My house isn't as close to downtown as yours, so I'm not Ubering home. So I'm like, all right, 2, 3. If I get close to 4, I'm like, yeah, this is about it before I tap out.
See, the thing about it is, like, a lot of times at the different breweries, I'll and craft beer places, I will watch sporting events. And so
I have been a part of this. I know the routine.
A nervous drink.
I very much enjoy it.
A nervous drink. It's like you drink out of just sheer fidgety. You want something in your hand. So there's more than 4 consumed in a Manchester match or a soccer match or a Tennessee football game mostly.
Right.
So it's like, I guess they're. I mean, I don't know if that plays so sports, but I've just never heard of a craft brewery setting a limit. Okay.
Well, I mean, the bartender can cut you off.
Oh yeah. Well, just setting a across the board limit.
Right.
Of 4. Okay, we're going to do 4 beers per person. That's it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess you are right. Once almost anybody hits that 5th beer, they're probably feeling something.
Yeah, you're
unless you're just drinking a something like the table beer at Alliance might be 4% or something. Unless you're just drinking, like I drink Boddingtons a lot when I'm at the pub watching soccer. So
that's not a very I mean, it feels like it's a filling beer, but it's not a very heavy beer.
Yeah, it's I mean relatively low ABV compared to most of the beers I drink.
Yeah.
So I can easily drink 4 of those and not really feel it.
Yeah.
So I would so if you had, for me, like I wouldn't put a cap on that because like somebody wanted to have
right, but
over
we're
time.
We're talking about DUI laws and
I know.
what the state has decided, not the brewery.
See, I think that they have strict DUI laws. That's why the brewery
is there some liability on the brewery for over serving
yes.
you? Gotcha. Yeah. That's why they're so strict on it. That makes
sense.
So
yeah, so and I think in Arizona or in Albuquerque, if anybody's pulled over, and so I guess from what I understood, if you're pulled over and you got a DUI and you were overserved, you actually possibly could sue the brewery, or the brewery can be liable for overserving you.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, and that makes that kind of makes sense. I guess they could be somewhat liable, but I still think, at least for first time offenders, I still think that it's their fault. Like it's never the server's fault for overserving.
Yeah.
Now that said, I mean, you could say, all right, well, it's your fault for not identifying this person was too drunk to drive, and you let them leave your premises in a state that was unhealthy or unsafe.
Yeah.
But even then, like, there's ways that could be mitigated too. But yeah, I mean, I still think, at the end of the day, that's on the person who made the decision to drink too much.
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
But yeah, interesting
little fact
fascinating
about Marble Brewing Company, that if you want to go drink there, you can't have more than 4.
All right, well, now we know.
Knowing is half the battle.
Knowing is half the battle. Well, I really want to enjoy the rest of this beer, and I don't want to bore people with us just drinking the beer slowly on the podcast. So I think we're gonna wrap up. What we got some neat stuff coming up brewery wise. I know we're talking about it. We're actually gonna try and go to some of these places soon.
So I think that list of new breweries that we mentioned, we're
gonna hit them up.
We have feelers out for all of them,
and we've been talking with some of the old breweries that we haven't seen in a while that we want to go back to.
Yes. So we're really hitting a summer stretch, so where we have opportunities and time to hit breweries. So I'm excited. I'm excited for that. So
yeah, I think we're going to be. You'll see a little more dedication to the podcast.
Yeah.
Going forward, it's not like I'm not doing this for a living now. So. And on that note, if someone is interested in sponsoring Humble Beer, reach out. Go to HumblePod.com or even our Humble Beer Podcast or HumbleBeerPodcast.com and check us out. And drop us a note. Send us a DM in the Twitters.
Oh, yeah.
Would love to talk to you
guys.
Get
all up in my DMs.
Get all up in those DMs. Okay, that's just weird. Probably leave that out. But yeah, get up and get up in our DMs. I don't know why my mind's going there now. But yeah, so definitely hit us up. But yeah, beyond that, I think that's all we really had to promote. I say there's exciting stuff coming, guys. There's exciting stuff coming. Like,
Oh yeah,
Knoxville's not done growing in craft beer, and we're not done bringing that information to you. And not just about Knoxville. There's going to be more to talk about, but man, there's a lot of Knoxville coming up.
I mean, this podcast was very Knoxville centric.
It always has been, yeah.
I know, but this episode mainly was very Knoxville centric because there was just a kind of a lot of beer news that was kind of in the Knoxville area with all the different new all announcements of the different new breweries, Neyland Stadium being able to sell beer. I mean, that was pretty cool, and so it's kind of cool seeing how the beer scene, craft and non-craft, is where. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, we focus a lot on craft beer, but we call ourselves the Humble Beer Podcast. So, I mean, if we want to, we can sit around here and talk about Budweiser for an hour if you want to.
Oh yeah, I mean,
no, but just beer news in general in this town is kind of blowing up. So
yeah, there's a lot of ways to go, and more I could just keep talking about, but yeah, I don't know if this will even make it into the episode, but we're nearing the hour and a half mark. We're probably going to break this up. So if you get to the third episode and I'm saying this, just laugh because you're like, yeah, you totally did. Or roll your eyes and go, why did you give me an hour and a half to listen to? Or, I mean, to that degree, DJ, maybe we should just make this one podcast and just drop it as like, one episode because this is the road trip episode.
Yeah,
like
the ramble episode.
It's a ramble episode. It's good for a road trip. It's summer. I'm going to be driving a lot soon. I know I'm going to be driving a lot next week anyway. And I'm always
hope I'm riding, not driving.
So, yeah, I know DJ is decidedly not a driver.
No. I've been anti-driving here lately. I've always been anti-driving.
You just need to buy a Tesla, dude.
Tesla. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So next car needs to be a Tesla. Model 3 with the automated driving.
Can I sit in the passenger seat, drink a beer while it drives me?
No, we're not there yet. Not there yet.
One day.
Yeah. Well, Uber and Lyft are working on that technology, but but anyways, yeah. So with that said, it's been an awesome podcast.
Yeah,
CJ.
I think so. All right, you got daddy duties.
Yeah, I do. Well, with that said, this has been Chris Hill.
Way down in